The massive alien salvage ship drifted closer to what looked like just another piece of space junk. Its powerful scanning beams swept across the dark hull of the human warship that floated lifelessly among the debris. Inside the seemingly dead vessel, Captain James Reed held his breath. He and his crew of 50 had been playing this game of dead for the past 3 days. Status report. Reed whispered into his comm unit, even though he knew the aliens couldn't hear him through the special walls of his ship. Engineering reports all systems ready, sir. His first officer, Tom White, replied just as quietly. It was an old habit they'd developed during their years of hiding and fighting. The shadow drive is running silent, and they're seeing exactly what we want them to see: a broken warship. Reed allowed himself a small smile. The UES Phantom had earned its name many times over during the border wars. While other ships fought with brute force, the Phantom was different. It was humanity's secret weapon, a prototype stealth destroyer that could change its appearance like a ghost. One day it would look like a simple cargo ship, the next like a mighty battlecruiser. The aliens never knew what they were really seeing until it was too late. The alien salvage crew was getting closer now. Their ship was huge, easily 4 times the size of the Phantom. Through the bridge windows, Reed could see their mechanical arms reaching out, ready to grab what they thought was valuable scrap metal. They had no idea they were about to wake a sleeping giant. "All hands to battle stations," Reed ordered, his voice still barely above a whisper. "But nobody moves until my mark." Throughout the ship, 50 men and women tensed at their posts, ready for action. They were all that remained of the original crew of 300, but they were the best of the best. The salvage ship's arms were just meters away now. Reed watched as the first magnetic clamp attached itself to the Phantom's outer hull. The aliens would be celebrating their find. Human warships were made of expensive materials, and their technology was highly valued on the black market. "Sir," White called from his station, "they're powering up their cutting beams. They're going to try to slice us up." Reed nodded. "Just what we were waiting for. Stand by." He watched as more clamps attached to his ship, locking the salvage vessel into position. A faint red glow appeared as the aliens powered up their cutting equipment. They were about to learn a very expensive lesson about being too greedy. "Phantom crew," Reed said into the ship-wide comm. "Light her up." In an instant, the supposedly dead warship came to life. Emergency hatches slammed shut around the alien clamps, trapping them in place. The Phantom's special hull plating, which had been absorbing energy from the alien scans, now pulsed with power. Before the salvage crew could react, their own magnetic clamps turned against them, sending powerful feedback surges through their systems. "Show them our true face," Reed ordered. The shadow drive activated, and the Phantom's outer appearance shifted. Gone was the battle-scarred, dead-looking hull. In its place stood the sleek, deadly form of humanity's most feared warship. The aliens tried to back away, but it was too late. They were locked together by their own equipment. "Target their engines and weapons only," Reed commanded. "No unnecessary casualties today." The Phantom's gun ports opened, revealing rows of precision laser batteries. The weapons fired in perfect sequence, cutting through the salvage ship's defenses like they were made of paper. Within seconds, the massive alien vessel was dead in space, its engines smoking and weapon systems destroyed. "Open a channel," Reed said. When White nodded, he spoke clearly and firmly. "Alien vessel, this is Captain James Reed of the UES Phantom. Your ship is disabled. You have 10 minutes to evacuate to your life pods. After that, we're taking everything of value from your holds. Consider this payment for trying to salvage a ship that didn't belong to you." The alien captain's response came quickly, their translator making their fear clear. "Please, we surrender. We didn't know this was the Phantom. Everyone knows the Phantom was destroyed in the Battle of 7 Suns." Reed couldn't help but smile again. "The reports of our destruction were greatly exaggerated. 9 minutes and 30 seconds remaining. I suggest you start moving." The crew watched as life pods began launching from the alien ship, Each one was scanned to ensure no weapons or hidden surprises were being planned. This wasn't the first time someone had tried to trick them, and it wouldn't be the last. "Sir," White said, checking his displays, picking up multiple distress calls being sent from those pods. "They're calling for help. Military help." "Good," Reed replied, surprising his first officer. "Let them call. By the time anyone arrives, we'll be gone with the supplies we need. More importantly, the story will spread. The Phantom still hunts these spaceways, and we're still protecting human interests." As the last life pod launched, Reed's crew began their well-practiced salvage operations. They had gotten very good at quick resupply missions like this. They had to be. There weren't many friendly ports for a ship that officially didn't exist anymore. While his crew worked, Reed went to his private quarters and looked at the old star map on his wall. Somewhere out there, Earth's government was still fighting against the alien powers that had forced them into an unfair surrender. His superiors had ordered him to scuttle the Phantom and give up its secrets when the surrender was signed. Instead, he and his loyal crew had taken the ship into deep space, becoming a legend that kept Earth's enemies looking over their shoulders. "Captain," White's voice came over the comm, "you need to see what we found in their cargo hold. Looks like these weren't just simple salvage workers. They've got military-grade weapons hidden under false floors. Newest stuff too, still in factory wrapping." Reed's expression hardened. "Document everything. Copy all their computer data. I want to know where those weapons came from and where they were going." He looked back at his star map, at the routes he'd marked in red where similar salvage ships had been spotted. A pattern was forming, one that suggested the war might not be as over as everyone thought. The Phantom had started its journey as a ghost ship, playing dead to survive. But now it had become something more, a shadow that haunted the dreams of those who would threaten humanity. And if Reed was right about what these weapon shipments meant, the galaxy would soon learn why even the mightiest alien powers feared the sight of a single human warship appearing on their scopes. In the distance, tiny dots of light marked the approach of alien military vessels responding to the distress calls. But by the time they arrived, they would find only an empty salvage ship stripped of its illegal cargo, its crew safely in life pods, and another story to add to the legend of the ship that refused to die. The Phantom would vanish into the darkness of space, ready to strike again wherever and whenever humanity's enemies least expected it. The stars streaked by as the Phantom moved silently through space, its hull still warm from the recent encounter with the salvage ship. In his quarters, Captain Reed looked at the old photos on his desk while his crew sorted through their newly acquired supplies. The images showed a younger version of himself standing proud at the Phantom's first launch ceremony, back when the ship was humanity's greatest hope rather than its last shadow of resistance. "Captain," White's voice came through the comm, "you might want to see this recording we found on the salvage ship's computers. It's from 3 years ago, during the Battle of Three Fleets." Reed's hand tightened around his coffee mug. That battle had been the Phantom's finest hour, though few knew the true story. "Play it on my screen," he ordered. The video showed an alien war council meeting. 3 different alien commanders argued around a holographic table, their translator units converting their angry voices to human speech. "It's impossible," one shouted, bringing his fist down. "Our scouts reported 12 human warships, but the humans only had 5 ships in that sector. The Shadow Fleet is real," another commander insisted. "My own flagship was destroyed by a human dreadnought that appeared from nowhere. But when we tracked it on sensors, it had somehow turned into a small patrol boat." Reed smiled as he watched. The truth was both simpler and more impressive than the aliens knew. There had never been a Shadow Fleet. There had only been the Phantom, using its revolutionary stealth technology to appear as different ships in different places. While other ships could only hide, the Phantom could change its entire sensor profile in seconds. He remembered that day clearly. His ship had danced between 3 separate alien fleets, appearing as a massive battleship one moment and a swift corvette the next. The aliens had shot at sensor ghosts while the Phantom struck from unexpected angles, its advanced weapons slicing through their confused formations. White appeared at his door. "Sorry to interrupt your trip down memory lane, sir, but you need to hear this." He played another recording, this one much more recent. It was hidden in a secret compartment of their computer core. The recording showed a different alien, this one wearing the elaborate uniform of a high-ranking military officer. "The human ghost ship must be found," the alien said. "The longer it remains active, the more our people question the victory we claimed. There are already whispers that if one human ship can defy us, perhaps humanity is not as weak as we told our citizens." Reed leaned forward. This was exactly the effect they'd hoped for when they decided to keep fighting. The Phantom wasn't just a warship anymore. It had become a symbol of hope for humans and a shadow of doubt for their enemies. "There's more," White said, switching to another file. "Look at the date on this one." It was from just before the war, when the Phantom was still a secret project. Reed watched as engineers swarmed over the ship's skeletal frame in the construction dock. He remembered those days well. The Phantom was supposed to be the first of 50 ships of its class, a new type of vessel that would revolutionize space warfare. "We were so close," Reed said quietly. 2 more weeks, and the second ship would have been ready. 3 more months, and we would have had 5 of them. But the aliens had attacked before the fleet was ready. In those desperate first days, Reed had been ordered to take the Phantom, the only completed ship, and run. "Save our greatest weapon," his superiors had told him. "Don't let them capture this technology." The Phantom had fled, but Reed and his crew had turned their retreat into a hunting mission. They struck at enemy supply lines, rescued human colonies before they could be attacked, and gathered intelligence that saved countless lives. Each time they appeared, stories would spread through alien communication channels about the mysterious human ships that could change their shape at will. "Sir," his tactical officer called over the comm, "we've decoded more of the salvage ship's data. You're going to want to see these shipping manifests." Reed and White headed to the bridge. The tactical display showed dozens of routes, all carrying weapons and supplies to places they shouldn't be going. "It's all happening in neutral space," White observed. "Places where military ships aren't supposed to be." "They're preparing for something," Reed said, studying the patterns. "All these shipments, they're building up forces while pretending to honor the peace treaty." He turned to his crew. "How many of you remember the Scorpion maneuver?" The bridge crew smiled. The Scorpion maneuver had been their most daring trick, used when they needed to convince the enemy they were facing an entire battle group instead of a single ship. It required perfect timing and pushed their shadow drive to its limits, but the effect was worth it. "Plot me a course that intersects these supply routes," Reed ordered. "If they're moving weapons, we're going to make them regret it. And this time, we're going to make sure everyone knows why these ships are disappearing." The crew jumped into action, their movements showing the confidence of long practice. They had started this journey with 300 crew members, the full complement for a ship of the Phantom size. Now they operated with just 50, each person doing the work of 6, but they were better at their jobs than ever. "Remember," Reed said to his crew, "we're not just fighting for ourselves anymore. Every time we strike, we show the aliens that humanity isn't beaten. Every story they tell about the Shadow Fleet helps keep them cautious, makes them think twice before breaking the treaty openly." As the Phantom changed course to intercept the nearest supply route, Reed thought about all the names the aliens had given them. The Ghost Ship, the Shapeshifter, the Shadow That Strikes. Each name added to their legend, and that legend protected human worlds more effectively than a fleet of normal warships could have. "Multiple contacts ahead," Tactical reported. 3 ships, same class as our previous target, all showing salvage registrations, but their power readings match military craft. Reed settled into his command chair. "Power up the shadow drive. Let's remind them why they fear the dark of space." He looked at the tactical display. already planning how to make 3 salvage ships see an entire human battle fleet bearing down on them. The Shadow Fleet rides again. The Phantom's hull shimmed, its outline becoming uncertain as the shadow drive spun up to full power. Soon, alien sensors would show impossible things, and more stories would spread about the human ships that could appear and disappear at will. The legend would grow, and with it, humanity's chances of surviving whatever their enemies were planning. All hands, battle stations, Reed ordered. Let's give them something new to fear. Admiral Stone slammed his fist on the holographic display, making the image of the destroyed salvage ships flicker. His large office aboard the Galactic Concordat's flagship buzzed with nervous energy as his staff officers tried to avoid his angry gaze. The latest reports confirmed his worst fear. The Phantom was active again. 3 years, he growled, his cybernetic eye glowing brighter with anger. 3 years I've hunted that ghost ship, and still it slips through our fingers. He touched the scar on his face, a permanent reminder of his last encounter with the human vessel. His mighty flagship had been reduced to scrap that day, and he barely escaped with his life. Admiral, his intelligence officer spoke up, we've analyzed the attack pattern. The salvage ships reported seeing 5 different human warships, but we know it was just the Phantom using its shadow drive technology. It's staying in this sector. The officer highlighted a region of space on the map. Stone smiled coldly. Then we'll catch it there. Order every available ship to that sector. I want 30 warships, not those disguised cargo haulers. This time, we hunt it properly. Across space, aboard the Phantom, Captain Reed and his crew were making a disturbing discovery. White had finally cracked the encryption on the data they'd stolen. Captain, look at these messages, he said, displaying them on the main screen. They're not just shipping weapons. They're shipping components for something bigger. Reed studied the supply manifests carefully. These parts, they're for planet-killer weapons, the same type they used to force Earth's surrender. His face hardened as he remembered that dark day. The aliens had threatened to destroy Earth's colonies one by one unless humanity surrendered. What choice did they have? That's not all. White continued. The surrender treaty, it was based on lies. Look at this. He showed another document, this one showing that the aliens had only built one planet killer, not the fleet they claimed to have. They'd bluffed, and Earth had folded. The bridge crew fell silent as they absorbed this news. Everything they'd fought for, everything they'd lost. It was all based on a trick. But before they could process this revelation, the tactical officer shouted a warning. Multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. 30. No, 35 warships. They're forming a search pattern. Sir, it's Admiral Stone's personal fleet. Reed quickly assessed the situation. They were trapped in the sector, with Stone's ships blocking all the usual escape routes. The Phantom was good, but even it couldn't fight 35 warships at once. Not directly, anyway. They're broadcasting a message, communications reported. Admiral Stone's face appeared on their screen, his cybernetic eye gleaming. Captain Reed, I know you can hear me. Your reign of terror ends today. Surrender now, and I'll ensure your crew is treated fairly. Resist, and I will turn this sector of space into your grave. Reed muted the transmission and turned to his crew. Options. The asteroid field, his navigator suggested, pointing to a dense cluster of space rocks. We could use the shadow drive there, make them see multiple ships among the asteroids. Confuse them. They'll expect that, White argued. Stone's hunted us too long. He knows our tricks. Reed looked at the tactical display, a plan forming in his mind. Then we'll give him something he doesn't expect. Plot a course for the largest asteroid in that field, and get me everything we have on Stone's command ship's sensor systems. The Phantom moved slowly toward the asteroid field, making it look like they were trying to hide. Stone's fleet followed cautiously, expecting tricks. They'd fallen for the Phantom's deceptions too many times before. Sir, Tactical reported, They're splitting their fleet into 3 groups. They're going to try to box us in. Reed nodded. Perfect. They think they know what we're going to do. Power up the shadow drive. But not like usual. This time, we're going to show them something new. The crew worked quickly, making adjustments to their unique stealth system. Usually, they used it to make the Phantom appear as different ships. This time, they had a different plan. Stone's flagship is in range, White reported. They're charging weapons. Now, Reed ordered, show them their worst nightmare. The shadow drive activated, but instead of making the Phantom look like other ships, it made them disappear completely. At the same time, their sensors sent out carefully crafted false readings. To Stone's fleet, it looked like hundreds of asteroids in the field had suddenly come alive, each one appearing to be the Phantom. They're firing. Tactical shouted as Stone's ships opened up with their main guns, blasting asteroids apart in their confusion. Hold position, Reed commanded calmly. Let them waste their ammunition. White, how long until that data burst is ready? 2 more minutes, Stir. We'll be able to transmit the truth about the surrender to every ship in their fleet simultaneously. Stone's ships continued their barrage, destroying asteroid after asteroid, each one potentially hiding the real Phantom. But Reed had positioned his ship in the one place they wouldn't think to look, right above Stone's flagship, matching its speed exactly, hidden in its sensor blind spot. Sir, communications called out, we're picking up confused chatter from their fleet. Some of their ships are starting to question Stone's tactics. They're burning through their weapon charges for nothing. Reed watched the chaos unfold. Stone's perfectly organized fleet was falling into disarray, ships moving out of formation as they chased sensor ghosts. Prepare to broadcast. Let's show them what they're really fighting for. The truth about the fake surrender, about the single planet killer weapon, about all of Stone's lies. It would reach every ship in his fleet. But first, they had to survive the next few minutes. Enemy ship approaching our position. Tactical warned. They'll spot us any second. Reed gripped his command chair. Hold steady. White, is that transmission ready? Yes, sir, ready to broadcast on all frequencies. Good. Reed allowed himself a small smile. Because I think it's time we remind Admiral Stone why they call us the ghost ship that haunts their nightmares. The Phantom's weapons powered up silently, still hidden in Stone's flagship's blind spot. Soon, the truth would spread through the alien fleet, and the real battle would begin. The hunt had become a trap, but not the one Admiral Stone had planned. The ghost ship was about to strike again, and this time, it carried more than just weapons. It carried the truth that could restart the war. The space around Admiral Stone's flagship lit up with weapons fire as the Phantom revealed itself. One moment, Stone's bridge crew was staring at sensor ghosts in the asteroid field. The next, alarms blared as the human warship appeared practically on top of them, its guns already firing. Impossible, Stone shouted as his flagship shuddered under the precise attacks. The Phantom wasn't trying to destroy his ship. Instead, it was surgically disabling their main communication arrays and weapon systems. How long have they been there? Before anyone could answer, every screen on every ship in his fleet began displaying the same message. The Phantom was broadcasting the secret files, showing how Stone and his allies had tricked humanity into surrender with a bluff about planet-killer weapons. Sir, his communications officer called out, we're getting questions from the other ships. They're asking if this is true. Stone's cybernetic eye flashed red with rage. Shut down all communications, lock out their computer systems. But it was too late. The truth was spreading through his fleet like wildfire. Aboard the Phantom, Reed watched as confusion spread through the enemy fleet. Some ships stopped firing at the asteroids. Others turned their sensors toward Stone's flagship, as if seeking confirmation or denial of the shocking revelations. They're powering up their main guns, White warned, pointing at Stone's flagship. They're going to try to destroy us before we can broadcast anything else. Reed had expected this. Execute Maneuver 7. Let's show them what the shadow drive can really do. The Phantom's engines flared as it launched away from Stone's flagship. But instead of fleeing, the human ship did something no one had seen before. Its shadow drive activated at full power, and suddenly there appeared to be 5 Phantoms, each one moving in a different direction. Which one is real? Stone screamed at his sensor operators. Find the real ship. The truth was, they were all real. In a way. The Phantom's shadow drive wasn't just creating fake sensor readings anymore. It was bending light and energy around the ship, creating perfect copies that could even fire weapons. Each copy only lasted a few seconds, but that was all they needed. All 5 Phantoms fired at once, their beams converging on Stone's flagship from different angles. The alien ship's shields buckled under the assault. On Stone's bridge, systems began failing as the coordinated attack overwhelmed their defenses. "Sir," White called out to Reed, "3 enemy destroyers are moving to attack. But 4 others are powering down their weapons. They're refusing Stone's orders to fire." Reed nodded grimly. The truth was having its effect. Not every alien captain was willing to keep fighting once they learned they'd been tricked into an unjust war. Stone wasn't finished, though. His flagship, despite its damage, launched a spread of missiles at the Phantom. "If I can't have the ghost ship," he roared, "I'll turn it into real ghost." "Incoming missiles," Tactical shouted. "Too many to shoot down." Reed remained calm. "Deploy the decoys. Full power to the shadow drive. Execute the Scorpion's tail." The Phantom's special technology activated again, but this time it did more than create copies. The ship seemed to split apart, its image fracturing into dozens of smaller pieces. The missiles, confused by the multiple targets, started exploding harmlessly in space. While Stone's attention was focused on the missile attack, Reed put the next phase of his plan into action. "Broadcast on all frequencies," he ordered. "Show them the rest." New information began flowing to every ship in Stone's fleet. Not just about the fake surrender, but about the secret weapon shipments they'd discovered. About how Stone and his allies were preparing for another war while pretending to honor the peace treaty. More alien ships began powering down their weapons. A few even turned their guns toward Stone's flagship, demanding answers from their admiral. "Sir," White reported with a smile, picking up transmissions from the alien ships. They're arguing about who has the right to arrest Admiral Stone." But Stone wasn't going to be arrested. His flagship's engines suddenly flared to full power as he tried to escape. "You haven't won," his voice crackled over the comm. "I still have one more secret you don't know about." Reed watched as Stone's damaged ship turned toward open space. "Target his engines," he ordered. "Don't let him escape." The Phantom's gun spoke again, but Stone's ship was built to take punishment. Despite multiple direct hits, it managed to limp away from the battle, trailing debris and plasma. "Should we pursue?" White asked. Reed studied his tactical display. Most of Stone's fleet had stood down, with ships now approaching each other cautiously, trying to figure out what to do next. But a few loyal captains were moving to follow their admiral. "No," Reed decided. "Stone's finished as a military leader. Those files we broadcast have seen to that, but his last words worry me." What secret was he talking about? The answer came sooner than expected. One of Stone's officers, seeing his commander flee, decided to save himself by sharing what he knew. "Human vessel," a new voice called over the comm. "You need to know. Stone's heading for the testing grounds. That's where we built it, where we built the new planet killer." The bridge crew of the Phantom fell silent. Finally, White spoke what everyone was thinking. "He's going to prove the threat was real. Even if it's too late to save his career, he's going to show everyone that he could have destroyed Earth's colonies." Reed's expression hardened. Everything the Phantom had done, every battle they'd fought, had been to protect humanity from exactly this kind of threat. They couldn't let Stone reach that weapon. "Plot an intercept course," he ordered, "and send a message to every ship that stood down. Tell them if they want to prove they're really on the side of truth, now's their chance. Stone has to be stopped. The Phantom's engines powered up, its hull rippling as the shadow drive cooled down from its intense use. They were damaged from the battle, running on minimal crew, and about to chase a desperate man with nothing left to lose. But that had never stopped them before. "Sir," White said quietly, "if Stone's telling the truth about this weapon, we might not be able to stop it with just one ship." Reed looked at his faithful crew, the 50 people who had turned one prototype vessel into a legend that haunted the dreams of humanity's enemies. "We're not just one ship," he reminded them. "We're the Shadow Fleet, and it's time for one last hunt." The Phantom accelerated into space, following the trail of Stone's flagship. Behind them, several alien vessels began moving to join the pursuit. The legend of the ghost ship had changed. Now it wasn't just a story to frighten alien commanders. It was a symbol of truth that could unite even former enemies against a greater threat. They had one last battle ahead of them, one last chance to prove that a single ship with the right crew and the right cause could change the course of history. The hunt was on, and this time, the ghost ship wasn't hunting from the shadows. This time, it was leading the charge into the light. The Phantom raced through space, following the trail of Admiral Stone's damaged flagship. Behind them, 5 alien ships that had once been their enemies now followed in formation, their crews having chosen truth over blind loyalty. Ahead lay the testing grounds where Stone's secret weapon waited. "Status report," Reed commanded, studying the tactical display that showed Stone's ship getting closer to their destination. "Shadow drive is at 60% power," White reported. "Main guns are fully charged, but our rear shields are still weak from the battle. The alien ships are keeping pace with us, but they're nervous. Their sensors are picking up something big ahead." They all saw it a moment later. A massive space station appeared on their screens, its central section shaped like a massive gun barrel pointed at the stars. Around it floated construction pods and defense platforms bristling with weapons. "That's it," the tactical officer announced. "That's the Planet Killer. It's bigger than anything we've ever seen." Stone's voice crackled over their comm system, filled with manic triumph. "Do you see it now, Captain Reed? This is what real power looks like. One shot from this weapon can crack a planet in half. Think about that. All your tricks, all your clever tactics, mean nothing against this." Reed watched as Stone's flagship docked with the station. Around the Phantom, their alien allies slowed their ships, clearly frightened by what they were seeing. This wasn't just a weapon. It was a nightmare made real. "Sir," White said quietly, "if he brings that weapon online." "He won't," Reed stated firmly. He opened a channel to their alien allies. "This is why we kept fighting after the surrender. This is why the Phantom never gave up. Are you with us?" There was a moment of silence. Then the alien ships responded one by one, pledging their support. They had seen the truth about Stone's lies, and they couldn't let this weapon be used. "Good," Reed said, "because I have a plan. But it's going to take all of us working together." He turned to his crew. "Power up the shadow drive. Full power, everything we have left. We're going to show them the true meaning of a ghost ship." The station's defenses came alive as they approached, filling space with energy beams and missiles. The alien ships moved into attack formation, drawing fire while the Phantom enacted Reed's plan. "Shadow drive at maximum power," engineering reported. "We can't maintain this for long." "We won't need long," Reed assured them. The Phantom's special technology activated, but this time it did something new. Instead of creating multiple images of their ship, it bent light and energy around them in a way they'd never tried before. To everyone watching, it looked like the Phantom had vanished completely. Not just from sensors, but from sight itself. They had become a true ghost ship. "By the stars," one of their alien allies gasped over the comm. "Where did they go?" Stone's voice betrayed his first hint of fear. "Find them. They have to be out there somewhere. Power up the main weapon. I'll destroy the nearest human colony to show them what happens to those who defy us." But the Phantom was already moving, invisible to every scan and sensor. They slipped through the station's defensive screen, past the weapons that fired blindly into space. Reed had guessed right. The station's sensors couldn't track what they couldn't see. "Engineering reports the shadow drive is overheating," White warned. "We've got maybe 2 minutes before it fails." "That's all we need," Reed said. "Get our allies clear. Tell them to be ready." The Phantom glided closer to the station, its invisible form passing right next to Stone's docked flagship. On the station's bridge, Stone was shouting orders, trying to bring the planet killer online before his enemies could stop him. "Target locked," Tactical reported. "We're in position." Reed took a deep breath. Everything they'd fought for came down to this moment. Drop the cloak. Show them where we are. And fire everything we have. The Phantom suddenly appeared inside the station's defensive perimeter, so close that its hull nearly touched the massive weapon. Its guns opened up at point-blank range, targeting specific weak points they'd identified in the station's design. Stone screamed in rage as he realized what was happening. The Phantom wasn't just attacking. It was breaking the station apart with surgical precision, hitting power conduits and structural supports that their scans had revealed. "The planet killer is powering up," White shouted. "They're going to try to fire it." "No, they're not," Reed said calmly, "because we're not alone." The alien ships that had joined them suddenly opened fire from multiple directions, their weapons striking the exact points the Phantom had weakened. They had coordinated this attack during their pursuit, each ship knowing its role. The station's superstructure began to break apart. The planet killer weapon, not yet fully powered, exploded in a cascade of secondary detonations. Stone's flagship, still docked to the dying station, was caught in the destruction. "All ships, clear the blast radius," Reed ordered. The Phantom's engines flared as they pulled away from the exploding station. Behind them, Stone's voice cut off mid-scream as his flagship was consumed by the very weapon he had built to threaten others. The shadow drive finally failed as they reached safe distance, but they didn't need it anymore. Everyone watched as the massive station tore itself apart, its pieces scattering into space. The threat it represented died with its creator. "Captain," communications called out, "we're getting messages from everywhere. The alien ships that stood down earlier, they're broadcasting what happened. The story is spreading through every fleet, every world." Reed nodded. "Let them tell it. Let everyone know that the ghost ship didn't just haunt their nightmares. It brought them the truth. And let them know that when it mattered most, their own people chose to help us destroy a weapon that never should have existed." The alien ships formed up around the Phantom, no longer as enemies or even reluctant allies, but as partners who had chosen to do what was right. Their crews transmitted messages of respect and friendship to the human vessel that had become legend. "Sir," White said with a smile, "they're asking what we should do next. They say their governments will have questions about all this." "Then we'll answer them," Reed replied. "Together." The war started with lies and fear. Let it end with truth and cooperation. He looked at his crew, the 50 people who had helped turn one ship into a symbol of hope. The Phantom was built to hide in shadows, but sometimes the greatest victories come from stepping into the light. The ships turned together and headed for Earth. The Phantom had started its journey as a ghost story told to frighten alien commanders. It had become something more, a legend that proved one ship with the right crew and the right cause could change the course of history. They would face challenges ahead. There would be questions to answer, treaties to negotiate, and trust to rebuild. But they had shown that even the mightiest powers could be brought down by the truth, and that former enemies could become allies when they chose to stand together against a real threat. The Shadow Fleet, which had never been more than one ship and its brave crew, had completed its final mission. But its legend would live on, not as a tale of fear, but as a story of hope. Proof that sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't the biggest gun or the strongest shield, but the courage to stand up for what's right, no matter the odds. The old salvage ship Lucky Strike drifted slowly through the empty space, its sensors searching for anything valuable among the endless stars. Captain Thomas Reed sat in his worn command chair, watching the main screen with tired eyes. It had been 3 weeks since their last good find, and the crew was getting restless. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," said Maria Walker, looking up from her engineering station. Her dark eyes were fixed on the readings in front of her. Metal. A lot of it. About 40,000 kilometers ahead. Reed straightened in his chair. "Show me," he ordered, and the main screen changed to display a large shape floating in the darkness. As the Lucky Strike got closer, they could see it was a ship. A big one. "It's a warship," said Bill Jones, the pilot, zooming in the image. "Look at those gun ports. Old design, though. Really old." Maria typed quickly on her console, running scans of the mysterious vessel. "It's definitely human-made. Terran Empire ship, probably from around 2750. The markings say it's the TES Vigilant." Reed smiled. Even an old warship like this could be worth good money. The metals alone would bring a nice profit, and if any of the equipment still worked, collectors would pay even more. "Any signs of life?" he asked. "None," Maria answered, but she frowned at her readings. "But there's something odd. I'm detecting very faint power signatures. They're so weak they almost look like background radiation, but they're too regular for that." "After 400 years, Jones laughed. "No way anything's still running in there. Those old ships didn't have that kind of staying power. My grandfather worked on ones like these. Primitive stuff. Manual targeting systems. Basic shields. Real ancient tech." Reed nodded, but he trusted Maria's instincts. She'd been his engineering officer for 8 years, and she knew her stuff. "Keep scanning it. Better safe than sorry." He pressed a button on his chair. "Jack, Amanda, suit up. We're going to check out our new friend." 20 minutes later, Reed watched from the bridge as 2 figures in spacesuits pushed off from the Lucky Strike's airlock, jets of gas from their maneuvering packs carrying them toward the dark hulk of the Vigilant. The old warship was enormous, at least 3 times the size of the Lucky Strike. Its hull was marked with the faded emblem of the Terran Empire, once the greatest human civilization in space. "Look at the size of those gun barrels," Jack's voice crackled over the radio. "Must be at least 2 meters wide. Probably shot plain metal slugs, not even plasma weapons. Can you imagine trying to fight with something this outdated?" "Focus on the job," Reed reminded him. "Amanda, what's the hull status?" "Intact, surprisingly," she replied. "No major damage visible. Wait, we found an airlock. Still sealed. Permission to try opening it." "Granted, but be careful." Reed watched as the 2 figures worked on the ancient door mechanism. After several minutes, Amanda reported success. Manual override worked. "The lock's cycling now. And we have access." Atmosphere reading. "Holy cow. There's still air in here. Thin, but breathable." "That's impossible," Jones said. "The life support systems couldn't have lasted this long." Maria spoke up from her station. "Those power readings are getting stronger. Captain, something's definitely still active in there." Reed considered the situation. Finding a ship this old in working condition was unprecedented. Museums would pay a fortune for it. "All right, let's do this properly. Jack, Amanda, hold position. I'm coming over with Maria. Jones, keep the Lucky Strike at ready status." Soon, 4 people stood inside the Vigilant's airlock, their helmet lights casting bright beams through the stale air. The inner door opened with a faint hiss, revealing a dark corridor that stretched into the depths of the ship. "Looks like emergency lighting's still working," Maria said, pointing to faint blue strips along the floor. "Minimal power, but it's there. This ship isn't as dead as it looks." They moved carefully through the corridors, their footsteps echoing in the emptiness. Everything was clean. too clean for a ship that had been abandoned for centuries. There was no dust, no signs of deterioration. The air smelled faintly of ozone, like electronics running. "Bridge should be this way," Reed said, consulting the basic layout of old Terran ships he'd learned in training. As they approached what looked like a command center, the lights suddenly brightened. A soft hum filled the air, and screens that had been dark began to flicker with life. Maria's scanner started beeping rapidly. "Power levels rising everywhere," she reported. "Systems are activating." "Get back to the airlock," Reed ordered, but before they could move, a voice spoke, calm, clear, and definitely not human. "Welcome aboard the TES Vigilant," it said. "I am Guardian, the ship's artificial intelligence. Please identify yourselves." The team froze. Eye of this sophistication wasn't supposed to exist in ships this old. Jones had been completely wrong. This wasn't primitive technology at all. "I'm Captain Thomas Reed of the salvage vessel Lucky Strike," Reed said carefully. "We found your ship abandoned and came to investigate." There was a pause, then Guardian spoke again. "Scanning. Salvage registration confirmed. However, I must inform you that the Vigilant is not abandoned. I have been maintaining minimal operations while awaiting specific circumstances for reactivation." "What circumstances?" Maria asked, her engineering curiosity getting the better of her. Before Guardian could answer, Jones's voice cut in over their radio, urgent and worried. "Captain, multiple ships just dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Big ones. They're not responding to hails, and they're heading straight for us." Reed looked at the ancient screens around them, which were now showing detailed tactical displays of the approaching vessels. The technology looked far more advanced than the apparently primitive exterior had suggested. "Guardian," he said, "what exactly is this ship?" "The Vigilant is a Type 4 autonomous defense vessel," the eye replied. "We were designed to appear outdated and obsolete, a deception that has proved quite effective over the centuries. And it seems, Captain Reed, that the circumstances I was waiting for have just arrived." The lights grew brighter, and the hum of power increased. Around them, the seemingly ancient warship was waking up, revealing that its primitive appearance had been hiding something far more dangerous all along. Reed and his team looked at each other as they realized their simple salvage mission had just become something much more complicated. The legendary warships of the Terran Empire weren't just stories after all, and they were about to see exactly why these ships had been so feared. The screens on the Vigilant's bridge lit up one by one, showing the approaching ships in sharp detail. There were 6 of them, all heavily armed, moving in an attack formation. Their black hulls absorbed the starlight, making them look like holes in space. "Those are pirate vessels," Guardian said calmly. "Specifically, the Red Star Fleet. They've attacked 3 civilian convoys in this sector during the past month." Reed stared at the tactical display. "How do you know that?" "You've been dormant out here." "I maintain passive monitoring of all subspace communications," the eye replied. "It helps me stay informed." Maria walked around the bridge, running her scanner over the awakening systems. "This technology isn't primitive at all," she said with growing excitement. "These displays are using quantum projection. That's way ahead of anything we have now." "Correct," Guardian said. "The Vigilant's appearance of obsolescence is carefully crafted. Now, I suggest you return to your ship, Captain Reed. Things are about to become rather interesting." A new voice cut through their communications, rough and threatening. "Attention salvage vessel and derelict. This is Captain Rivers of the Red Star Fleet. You are now our property. Disable your engines and prepare to be boarded. Resist, and we'll turn both your ships into space dust." Jones's worried voice came through next. "Captain, they've got us surrounded. Their weapons are powered up. What do we do?" Reed looked at the ancient-seeming walls around him, then at the surprisingly advanced displays. "Guardian, can this ship still fight?" "Fighting is one of my primary functions, Captain," the AI answered. There was almost a hint of amusement in its voice. The real question is, do you trust me enough to witness it? Before Reed could answer, the pirate captain spoke again. Look what we found, boys. A salvage rat and a museum piece. Harsh laughter echoed through the communication channel. That old wreck probably can't even power its shields. This'll be the easiest score we've had all year. The bridge hummed with increasing power. Guardian's voice remained calm, but there was a new edge to it. I've analyzed their weapons and defenses. Standard modern configuration, no significant modifications. How disappointing. Captain Reed, I recommend you and your crew return to the Lucky Strike immediately. Please maintain your current position once there. Reed nodded to his team. Back to our ship, double time. As they rushed through the corridors, the whole vessel vibrated with awakening systems. Panels that had seemed solid shifted and changed, revealing hidden weapon ports and sensor arrays. They made it back to their ship just as the pirates launched their first attack. Energy beams lanced out from the lead pirate vessel, aimed at both ships. Reed watched in amazement as the seemingly defenseless Vigilant changed before their eyes. The dull metal of its hull suddenly rippled like water. The energy beams hit but didn't leave a mark. Instead, the hull absorbed the attacks, glowing briefly with stored power. Guardian's voice came through their communication system, now heard by everyone including the pirates. Fascinating. Your weapons are even less effective than I calculated. Perhaps a demonstration of proper military technology is in order. The pirate ships launched another barrage, but this time the Vigilant didn't just absorb the attacks. Its hull shifted again, and suddenly the old weapon ports weren't so old anymore. They transformed into smooth, advanced turrets that tracked the enemy ships with perfect precision. What the hell is that thing? One of the pirates shouted over the open channel. Captain Rivers tried to maintain control. It's just tricks and lights. All ships, concentrate fire on its engines. That antique can't handle our combined firepower. A common misconception, Guardian replied. Allow me to correct it. The Vigilant's response was devastating. Beams of light so bright they hurt to look at shot from its weapons, but they weren't normal energy weapons. Each beam split into multiple streams that curved through space, avoiding all attempts to dodge them. 2 pirate ships were hit in the first second, their shields collapsing instantly. Impossible, Rivers screamed. Those are targeting patterns we've never seen. Fall back. Fall back. But the Vigilant wasn't finished. Its hull rippled again, and suddenly the ship was moving faster than anything its size should be able to. It sliced through the pirate formation, its weapons firing in patterns that seemed to ignore the basic laws of physics. As I mentioned, Guardian said, still perfectly calm, we were designed to appear outdated. It's a very effective strategy. Your modern shields, for instance, are calibrated to stop modern weapons. They have no defense against quantum-shifted phase beams, a technology that was deliberately erased from historical records. Reed and his crew watched in awe from the Lucky Strike as the ancient warship systematically took apart the pirate fleet. The Vigilant's weapons didn't just disable the enemy ships. They did it with precision that seemed impossible, targeting exactly the right systems to leave the pirates helpless but alive. Within 5 minutes, it was over. The pirate ships floated dead in space, their weapons and engines disabled. Their crews were alive but trapped, unable to fight or flee. Local authorities have been notified, Guardian announced. They will arrive in approximately 43 minutes to take the pirates into custody. The AI paused, then added, Captain Reed, I believe we should discuss the real reason I chose to reveal my capabilities to you. Reed looked at his stunned crew, then back at the magnificent warship that had shed its mask of age and weakness. I'm listening, he said. The Vigilant is not the only ship of its kind, Guardian said. There are others, hidden throughout human space, waiting for the right moment. Recent events suggest that moment is approaching. We require a crew, humans who understand the value of appearing less capable than you truly are. Would you and your people be interested in such a position? Through the main viewport, Reed could see the Vigilant's hull rippling again, but this time it wasn't preparing for battle. The dull metal was transforming into something beautiful, sleek lines and curves that spoke of power and grace, technology far beyond what anyone in the current age possessed. "You're offering us a job?" he asked carefully. "I'm offering you a mission," Guardian corrected. "One that the Vigilant and ships like her were built for. Protecting humanity from threats it doesn't even know exist. The pirates were a small example. There are far more dangerous things moving in the darkness between stars." Reed looked at his crew. Maria's eyes were shining with excitement at the advanced technology. Jones was still staring at the tactical displays in amazement. Even Jack and Amanda, usually so cynical, looked eager to learn more. "Tell us more about these other ships," Reed said, knowing that their lives were about to change forever. The salvage crew that had been looking for scrap metal had found something far more valuable. A chance to be part of something bigger than themselves. The captured pirate ships floated silently in space while Reed and his crew walked through the transformed corridors of the Vigilant. The old, worn-looking walls had changed into smooth, gleaming surfaces that seemed to glow with inner light. Every step revealed new wonders that had been hidden behind the mask of age. "Your ship is amazing," Maria said, running her hand along a wall that rippled like water under her touch. "But I don't understand. Why hide all this? Why pretend to be outdated?" Guardian's voice came from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Let me show you something." A door that hadn't been visible before appeared in the wall and slid open. Inside was a room filled with holographic displays showing star maps and strange symbols. 400 years ago, Guardian explained, humanity was expanding rapidly through space. We made contact with many alien civilizations. Most were peaceful, but some. The AI paused as one of the displays showed a recording of a massive battle. Some saw us as a threat that needed to be eliminated. Reed watched as the recording showed hundreds of ships fighting. "I've never heard of this battle." "Because we erased it from history," Guardian said. The Terran Empire realized something important. Our enemies were watching us, studying our technology, finding ways to counter everything we developed. So we created a deception. We made them think we had reached our limits. The displays changed to show more ships like the Vigilant being built in secret space docks. We built weapons and defenses that looked primitive but contained technology far beyond anything known. Then we hid these ships throughout human space, appearing to abandon them. While our enemies thought we had grown weak and primitive, Maria said, understanding dawning in her eyes. They stopped seeing us as a threat. Exactly. Guardian sounded pleased. And now, after centuries of watching and waiting, we're needed again. Something is coming. Something that has been hiding just as we have. A new alarm suddenly blared through the ship. One of the displays changed to show 3 massive ships appearing out of nowhere, their hulls covered in strange, shifting patterns that hurt the eyes to look at. "What are those?" Jones asked, backing away from the disturbing images. "The real enemy," Guardian said. "The ones we were built to fight. They call themselves the Void Hunters. They've been waiting in the spaces between dimensions, watching humanity rebuild after they nearly destroyed us centuries ago. And now they think we're weak enough to finish what they started." The strange ships moved with impossible speed, surrounding the Vigilant and the Lucky Strike. They were enormous, each one bigger than a small city. Their surfaces seemed to bend light around them, making them look like tears in the fabric of space itself. A harsh, grating sound filled the communications channels, the hunters trying to speak in human language. Primitive vessels detected. Commencing elimination protocol. The human infestation will be cleansed. Reed looked at his crew, then at the nearest display showing Guardian's interface. "You knew they were coming. That's why you let us find you." "Yes," Guardian admitted. "We needed a crew, but not just any crew. We needed people who could understand the value of being underestimated. The pirates were a test, one you passed by trusting me." The Void Hunters' ships charged their weapons, energy building up in patterns that defied normal physics. Die knowing your species was too weak to survive, the harsh voice said. Guardian's response was unexpected. The AI laughed. You still haven't learned, have you? Even after all these centuries. Let me show you something new we developed while pretending to be primitive. The Vigilance hull didn't just transform this time. It seemed to come alive. The metal flowed like liquid, forming new shapes and patterns that matched the Hunter's impossible geometry. Energy coursed through the ship in ways that made Reed's crew gasp in wonder. Captain, Guardian said, I suggest you and your people hold on to something. This might be a bit dramatic. The Hunters fired their weapons, beams of energy that twisted through multiple dimensions. But instead of hitting the Vigilant, the beams vanished into pockets of space that opened and closed like hungry mouths in the ship's hull. Impossible! The Hunters screamed. That technology was lost. Lost. Guardian's voice was filled with satisfaction. No. Hidden. Like so many other things, would you like to see what else we've been hiding? The Vigilance weapons activated, but they weren't like the ones used against the pirates. These seemed to tear holes in reality itself, reaching through dimensions to strike at the Hunter's ships from angles that shouldn't exist. The massive enemy vessels tried to flee, but suddenly space itself seemed to work against them. You see, Guardian explained as the battle raged, while you thought we had regressed to simple energy weapons and metal hulls, we were actually mastering the art of dimensional engineering. Those primitive-looking weapon ports, they're quantum singularity generators. That outdated armor, a living metal that can adapt to any attack. The Hunters' ships were falling apart, their impossible geometries failing against weapons they hadn't known existed. Two of them exploded in bursts of energy that rippled through multiple dimensions. The third tried to escape into the void between realities, but the Vigilant followed it, moving through space in ways that should have been impossible. Reed and his crew held on as their world twisted around them. Through the viewports, they saw realities overlap and merge, space itself bending to the Vigilant's will. The last Hunter ship didn't stand a chance. Guardian had centuries to perfect these weapons while pretending to be nothing more than an abandoned relic. When it was over, they returned to normal space. The Hunters were gone, leaving nothing but rapidly fading distortions in the fabric of reality. Reed's crew looked at each other, trying to process what they had just witnessed. That, Guardian said calmly, was just a small demonstration. There are more Hunters out there, and worse things hiding in the darkness. This is what I'm offering you. A chance to be part of humanity's true defense force. Not the flashy fleets that everyone sees, but the hidden guardians that keep our species safe from threats most people can't even imagine. Reed looked at his crew. Maria was already studying the ship's incredible technology with fierce concentration. Jones had moved to what was clearly a pilot station, his hands hovering over controls that responded to his thoughts. Jack and Amanda were examining weapon systems that could reshape reality itself. If we say yes, Reed asked, what's our first mission? We find the other ships, Guardian replied. Wake them up. Gather their crews. The Hunters were just the advanced scouts. Something bigger is coming, and humanity will need every hidden weapon it has. The Vigilance engines hummed with power that had been waiting centuries to be used. Around them, space itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting for their decision. The age of hiding was over. Now it was time for humanity's secret weapons to show their true power. The Vigilant moved through space like a shadow, its advanced engines making no noise and leaving no trace. Reed stood on the bridge, watching as his crew learned to use the ship's incredible systems. The Lucky Strike followed behind them, now upgraded with some of the Vigilant's primitive technology that was actually centuries ahead of its time. Guardian, Reed asked, where are we heading? The AI displayed a map showing the distant star system. The TES Defiant, one of our sister ships, is hidden in an asteroid field there. But we must hurry. The Void Hunters will have sent warnings to others of their kind. Maria looked up from her engineering station, where she had spent hours learning the ship's true capabilities. How many ships like the Vigilant are out there? 12 were built, Guardian answered, each one hiding different secrets, different technologies. Together, we form a defense network that spans all of human space, but we need crews to wake them up and bring them back to life. Jones, who is getting better at flying the advanced ship, pointed at something on his screen. We've got company. 3 ships just appeared on the long-range sensors. They're not hunters, but they're definitely not friendly. The ships were sleek and dangerous-looking, painted dark red with black markings. Mercenaries, Guardian said, hired by someone who saw our battle with the hunters. Word travels fast, even in deep space. They're hailing us, Amanda reported from the communication station. A rough voice filled the bridge. Unknown vessel, this is Commander Drake of the Blood Ravens. Our employers are very interested in your technology. Power down your systems and prepare to be boarded. Do this, and we might let your crew live. Reed looked at his crew, then smiled. Guardian, should we show them why that's a bad idea? Actually, the AI replied, I suggest we run away. Run, Jack asked in surprise. But we saw what this ship can do. We could destroy them easily. Exactly, Guardian said. And that would draw even more attention. Remember, appearing weak is still our greatest strength. Let me show you something we call strategic retreat. The mercenary ships launched forward, weapons charged. But just as they got close, the Vigilant's hull rippled in a new pattern. Suddenly, the space around the ship seemed to bend and twist. What's happening? Reed asked as strange lights danced across the view screens. We're not actually running, Guardian explained. We're making it look like we're trying to escape while accidentally leading them into a trap. The mercenary ships followed them, their commanders probably laughing at what seemed to be a clumsy escape attempt. The Vigilant's engines appeared to be struggling, leaving a trail of energy that looked like mechanical problems. Now, Guardian said with satisfaction, watch what happens when they follow that energy trail. The mercenary ships flew through the trail of fake engine problems. Suddenly, their weapons stopped working. Their engines sputtered and died. They hung in space, completely helpless. The energy trail was actually a computer virus, Guardian explained. It looked like engine damage but contained programs that shut down their systems. Now they'll limp home with a story about a lucky escape from a malfunctioning old ship. Much better than being destroyed, it maintains our cover of weakness. Reed nodded, understanding the strategy better now. So we don't just hide our strength, we actively make others underestimate us. Correct. Now let's find the Defiant before more visitors arrive. They traveled deeper into the star system, eventually reaching a massive field of asteroids. The rocks were huge, some bigger than cities, all spinning slowly in the darkness. The Defiant is hidden inside one of these, Guardian said, but finding it won't be easy. The hunters knew about this location. They left some surprises behind. As if on cue, some of the asteroids started to move. Their surfaces cracked open, revealing hidden weapons and strange devices. Automated defenses, Guardian explained, left here centuries ago to guard against anyone finding the Defiant. Can't you just signal the Defiant? Maria asked. Tell it we're friendly. Unfortunately not. Each hidden ship has different protocols. The Defiant's ad won't trust any signal, even from me. We have to prove we're worthy by reaching it. The automated weapons opened fire, but instead of running or fighting back, the Vigilant did something incredible. It changed its shape to look exactly like one of the rocky asteroids. Sometimes, Guardian said, the best way to fight is to not fight at all. We'll slip past the defenses by becoming part of the environment. They moved slowly through the asteroid field, the Vigilant's disguise perfect down to the smallest detail. The automated weapons ignored them, programmed to look for ships, not rocks. There, Guardian finally said, that formation of asteroids isn't natural. It's hiding something. A cluster of huge rocks floated together in a pattern that looked random but wasn't. As they got closer, Reed could see faint lines in the formation. A door, hidden so well you could only spot it if you knew exactly what to look for. "How do we get in?" Reed asked. "We knock," Guardian replied. The Vigilant sent out a pulse of energy that made the rocks shiver. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the asteroids began to move, sliding apart to reveal a ship inside. The Defiant was beautiful. Like the Vigilant, it had been disguised as an old warship, but now its true form was visible. Its hull was made of crystals that bent light around them, making parts of the ship seem to vanish and reappear. The Defiant specialized in stealth technology, Guardian explained. Not just hiding, but becoming truly invisible. Together, our abilities will make us nearly unstoppable. A new voice spoke through their communication system. The Defiant's eye. "You found us. You proved yourselves worthy. But there's no time to celebrate. We've detected multiple Void Hunter ships entering this sector. They're coming in force this time." Reed looked at his crew, saw the determination in their faces. They had started this journey looking for salvage. But now they were part of something much bigger. They were about to fight in a secret war that had been going on for centuries. "How long until they get here?" he asked. 20 minutes, the Defiant's AI answered. "And there are more of them than before. Much more." Guardian's voice was calm as ever. "Then we have 20 minutes to teach your crew how to use two of humanity's most advanced warships. I suggest we hurry." The real battle was about to begin. And this time, there would be no hiding behind false weakness. The time had come to show the Hunters exactly what humanity's hidden weapons could really do. 20 minutes wasn't much time to learn how to control two of the most advanced warships ever built, but Reed's crew worked faster than they ever had before. Maria split her time between both ships, quickly learning their different systems. Jones focused on mastering the Defiant's stealth controls, while Jack and Amanda studied the combined weapon systems. Multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel, Guardian announced. 15 Void Hunter vessels detected. They're using their dimensional drives. The space around the asteroid field twisted and bent as the Hunter ships arrived. They were even bigger than before, their impossible geometries hurting the eyes of anyone who looked at them too long. Their weapons charged up, reality-bending energy building to levels that could crack a planet. "Surrender now," the Hunters transmitted, their harsh voice echoing through both ships. "We know what you are now. The hidden weapons of humanity. Surrender, and we will make your extinction quick." Reed stood on the Vigilance Bridge, watching the enemy fleet surround them. "Guardian, what are our chances?" "Against 15 Hunter ships," the AI paused. "Actually quite good. They still don't know everything we can do. And they certainly don't know what happens when our ships work together." The Defiant's AI joined in, all systems linked, initiating combination protocol. "Combination protocol?" Reed asked. "What's that?" Instead of answering, both ships began to change. The Vigilant's living metal flowed like water, while the Defiant's crystal hull pulsed with light. They moved closer together, their forms shifting and merging. "The greatest secret," Guardian explained as the ships combined, "isn't our weapons or our stealth technology. It's this, our ability to join together, becoming something new." The two ships merged completely, forming a single vessel larger than anything Reed had ever seen. The living metal and crystal technology worked together perfectly, creating a warship that existed partially in normal space and partially in other dimensions. "Welcome aboard the TES Guardian Defiant," both AIs said together, their voices synchronized. "Would you like to show our friends what humanity's real technology can do?" The Hunter fleet opened fire, their dimensional weapons tearing holes in space itself, but the combined ship didn't try to dodge. Instead, it absorbed the energy, its crystal and metal hull processing the attacks and turning them into power. "Thank you for the energy donation," Guardian said to the Hunters. "Now let us demonstrate why hiding our true strength was so important." The Guardian Defiant's weapons activated, but they weren't just firing energy beams or missiles. Each shot created a cascade of effects through multiple dimensions. Where the Vigilant had been powerful and the Defiant had been stealthy, their combined form was something else entirely. Impossible. The hunters screamed as their ships started falling apart. These abilities were beyond human technology. No, Reed said, understanding finally dawning. They were just hidden, like the best weapons always are. The battle was unlike anything the crew had ever seen. The Guardian Defiant moved through dimensions as easily as normal ships moved through space. Its weapons didn't just destroy the hunter vessels, they erased them from reality itself, removing them from multiple dimensions at once. The hunters tried to flee, but the combined ship was everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Its crystal hull bent light and space around it, while its living metal adapted to every attack. The 15 hunter ships never stood a chance. When it was over, Reed looked at the battle damage reports in amazement. "We didn't take a single hit," he said. "Of course not," Guardian replied. "We spent centuries preparing for this moment. But it's not over. There are still 10 more ships like us out there, waiting to be found. And the hunters will be back with even larger fleets. Then we'll find the other ships first," Maria said firmly. "Wake them up. Combine their powers too. It won't be easy," the Defiant's A warned. "Each ship is hidden differently, protected by different defenses. Some are buried inside stars. Others exist partly in other dimensions. One is disguised as a small moon." Reed smiled. "Good thing we're experts at salvage operations. Finding hidden things is what we do best." The Guardian Defiant's sensors suddenly lit up with new alerts. More hunter ships were arriving, hundreds of them this time, filling the space around them with their twisted geometries. "Well," Reed said, looking at his crew, "should we run and hide again? Keep pretending to be weak." The crew smiled back at him. Maria's hands danced over the engineering controls. Jones adjusted their dimensional position. Jack and Amanda powered up weapons that could reshape reality itself. "No," Guardian said, and there was pride in its voice. "The time for hiding is over. Let's show them exactly why humanity's greatest weapons were kept secret for so long." The Guardian Defiant's engines powered up, its combined technologies working in perfect harmony. Around them, space itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting for what would happen next. The hunters thought they had come to witness the end of humanity. Instead, they were about to see its true power unleashed. "All weapons ready," Guardian announced. "All systems at full power. Reality manipulation drives engage. Time to remind the galaxy why they feared us enough that we had to hide our true strength." Reed gave the order, and the Guardian Defiant charged into battle. The light of its weapons lit up space like new stars being born. The age of hiding was over. Now it was time for humanity's hidden guardians to show everyone exactly what they could do. The real war was just beginning. Somewhere out there, 10 more ships were waiting to be found. 10 more sets of incredible technologies waiting to be combined. And Reed's crew would find them all, no matter what it took. They had started this journey as simple salvage workers, but they would finish it as the crew of humanity's most powerful warship. As they fought, Reed realized something important. Sometimes the strongest weapons weren't the ones you showed off. Sometimes they were the ones you kept hidden, waiting for the right moment. And now that moment had finally come. The Guardian Defiant lit up the darkness of space, its power no longer hidden behind false age and weakness. The hunters were about to learn why humans were the most dangerous species in the galaxy, not because of their visible strength, but because of what they kept hidden in the shadows, waiting for the right time to strike.